Welcome to the Progress Texas Happy Hour.
Welcome to the Progress Texas Happy Hour. I'm Executive Director Kathleen Thompson.
And I'm Progress Texas board member and civil rights attorney Jason Smith.
This week, precinct chairs in Tarrant County overwhelmingly voted to return former Democratic Party Chair Allison Campolo to lead the pivotal swing county. And the day I saw the former chair post that she was resigning, I immediately called Allison to urge her to please run again. But she was already on it. She announced her candidacy to fill the vacancy quickly. I could not be happier for my home county. So welcome to the show, Tarrant County Democratic Party Chair Allison Campolo.
Thank you. I'm so glad to be here.
We're so glad you're here. We have a lot to discuss, and Jason's going to kick us off.
So I grew up in Tarrant County. I grew up in Hearst. Kathleen grew up in Tarrant County.
That's right.
Did you grow up in Grapevine or Colleyville?
Colleyville.
All right. But you went to Grapevine High.
Went to Grapevine High.
There you go. And then Allison, did you get a MacArthur?
I did. That is some good sleuthing, Jason.
No, I think you told me once upon a time.
I probably did. And I went to two high schools at once. So I went to MacArthur High School in Irving, and I also went to the Academy of Irving ISD, which was at the time, it was like a groundbreaking kind of experimental vocational high school. So I did work while I did high school at the same time.
Okay. So, Allison, we really want to visit with you about becoming the leader of Tarrant County Democrats and about you as a leader, and then what Tarrant County and Texas can look forward to. There have been a lot of people who say, as Tarrant County goes, so goes Texas, and that we are really the epicenter of really tipping Texas purple.
Yes.
Why do you think Tarrant County is such a crucial county for us to take into account in Texas?
Tarrant County, and it's true. People from both sides of the aisle say this, that as Tarrant County goes, so goes Texas, Right. And they've been saying that for quite a few years, and I think they're exactly right. I think there's quite a few things that go into that reality. And the biggest part of it is that people have for so long said that this is a red county. Tarrant County is red. Tarrant County is red. And in conjunction with that, obviously the brutal gerrymandering, the chronic underinvestment in voting infrastructure in this county, what that's done is depress the vote for decades. So now you have the largest red-purple urban county in the United States. It's also the urban county with the lowest voter participation rate in the United States. And what that's done is create an enormous number of Democrats who live here but don't vote. And so if this county turns, which means if this county actually activates its voter base to the degree it should be activated, then we will outvote anything in the state. I mean, this county will absolutely dictate the future of Texas, and thus the future of the nation in terms of national politics. And that it just sounds so hyperbolic to say that, but it's not at all an exaggeration. It's truly the reality that we have so many voters here in Tarrant County who have simply not gotten to the ballot box, that when we get them out, it will change the outcome of this county and this state.
And there's some rays of light in Tarrant County. In 2018, after 24 years of not winning countywide, Beto O'Rourke carried Tarrant County. And then in 2020, Joe Biden was the first Democrat since LBJ as a presidential candidate to carry Tarrant County. And then in 2024, Colin Allred carried Tarrant County over our friend vacationing Ted Cruz.
Yes.
Not my friend.
So there is cause for hope. We've gained a seat on the county commission. And we'll talk more about that later. But really, what do you think is the next thing that we need to do to take Tarrant County to the next level?
Right. So, I mean, you're exactly right. We've been having small successes in Tarrant County, which kind of indicate where this county could go, right? So we gained a House district seat in 2022. We retained and defended our 2018 flips in 2022, which was awesome, which is really important that we're able to maintain those flips. It wasn't an erroneous flip, it was real. And then we've seen multiple times that, as you said, that the top of the ticket goes for a Democrat, which is very impressive and unprecedented in recent history. as we were talking about earlier, this voter base has been so depressed for so long that we're starting to be able to activate this really robust number of Democrats here in Tarrant County to get out to the ballot box. So I think everyone would agree that the election of Donald Trump in 2016 was a major turning point for this country, and certainly for the state. I mean, everyone in Tarrant County would certainly tell you, like, they've never seen such a surge in activism as they did in January 2017, following the election of Donald Trump. And so, not that I'm in any way ever happy for the election of Trump either time, but he did indicate to people that if you don't like something, you should change it. You need to get involved. You need to get to the ballot box. And I think with that birth of activism in Texas and in Tarrant County, we're actually able to start turning people out, and once we get these Democrats to the ballot box, all of these seats are flippable, and certainly this county is flippable.
Allison, you had some campaign pledges that I'd like to share that I saw that I know that you're perfectly capable of. But talk to me about this recent win, and I'm talking recent, like this week win, and how you're going to raise that $1 million to make these flips happen.
Definitely. So every time I do something, I get better at it, right? So in 2018, I ran for state senate and I raised $88,000 just for a primary. And in 2020, I ran Tarrant Together and I raised $200,000 for a voter registration initiative. And in 2022, I ran the county party and I raised almost $500,000 for the county party, which was a dramatic increase over the previous midterm cycle for the party. So I personally, my trajectory will continue going up, and this and also for the party too. So it's not just personal, but also for the party, we will continue seeing increases in our fundraising and in our output in terms of voter reach and voter education. I think there's no magic formula for fundraising. You just have to get in and do it, right? You have to make those phone calls. You have to put on those events. You have to make those relationships. You have to talk to people in order to get those funds raised. And so I certainly put in the work in 2022 to raise the $500,000 then. And I'll certainly put in the work now. But the difference between 2022 and 2026 are quite a few things. Obviously, as we've just discussed, there's going to be a lot more engagement because people are remembering that they have to get engaged and have to start organizing their communities and have to start donating to their county party in order to see positive change, in order to get the things they want out of politics and local government. But we're also seeing like this really amazing organizing, grassroots organizing within the county party. So I'm walking back into a county party which has grown since I've been gone. I'm truly impressed. So it used to feel very lonely. It used to feel like I was the only one making phone calls. It was just me and my finance director who would pull my call list for me, just making those calls every day. And it was hard. And now I walk back.
I know it is.
Yes. But now I walk back in and there's a fully functioning fundraising committee, which is doing its own call time with or without a chair, which is organizing events, which is, doing these hard things. And a functioning, robust fundraising committee, in addition to a chair who does call time. I mean, we're going to do great. I mean, 2026 is going to be a wonderful year. I think that $1 million promise is no problem.
What types of resources are out there? Like, who's got the George Soros's cell phone number? And these other organizations and PACs. Tarrant County is larger than 14 states.
Yeah.
It is 2.2 million people. Fort Worth is the 11th. It's probably unofficially the 10th largest city in the United States. And it would be great to find some national organizations to invest in Tarrant County. What do we do to make that happen?
That's one of those hard things, is because people like investing in winners, right? And so that's a really hard tipping point to achieve as a fundraising entity. Is people want to donate to somebody who's already winning, but you can't win unless you have the money to do the organizing. And so, as somebody who's done this once, particularly in this specific role, I mean, it's like trying to squeeze water from a stone. You feel like you're doing the hardest thing in the world. You're trying to do so very much with so very little, and trying to convince people that your county is viable, that this is the next Democratic stronghold. And the one thing I can say that is hopefully a turning point for fundraising in Tarrant County is that we are getting national attention. I mean, Tarrant County has been on the national watch list last 2 cycles at least. We're seeing national Republicans pay attention to this county, and for good reason. That we are on the precipice of flipping. And so the more that we can get out there, the more we do podcasts like this, thank you, Progress Texas, the more that we can spread our message that Tarrant County is not Republican. Even Republicans think it's Republican, but it's not. It's a 50-50, if not, 55-45 in the favor of Democrats county. The more that we show people our data, the more that we get out there and show them how many elected Democrats we have and how many we could have if we organize. Definitely, this is so achievable as long as we keep spreading our message.
So I want to talk to you about redistricting,
Right.
redistricting in Tarrant County and in Texas.
Definitely.
We have a county judge in Tarrant County who is from the Ken Paxton School of Manners. Talk to us about the county judge and what he did with redistricting, and then how you see that playing into Governor Abbott's recent call for the legislature to take up redistricting in that special session.
To me, it's fairly obvious that the only reason that we're taking up redistricting is because they are completely terrified of Democrats. They fully see the future, which is they can't win without cheating.
Right.
And so they will take every avenue they can to cheat their way to success. Even at the Precinct 3 hearing for the redistricting, I brought a bunch of data because I had been hearing these Republicans. I listened to every single precinct hearing, every single person who spoke at Commissioner's Court about this. And I was hearing Republicans say, well, Tarrant County is red, so we should have red representation. And Tarrant County hasn't been redistricted in so long, and now we need to even the districts. And when you completely obliterate all of their arguments, which were all false, they finally just started standing up and saying, well, I know what's best for Tarrant County, and we need overwhelming Republican leadership, regardless of who's here or how many people are here or how we have to get it. And we heard Matt Krause stand up and say, look, I know you think this is a racial gerrymander, but it's not. It's a partisan gerrymander, and that's legal, and you can't do anything about it. And when your commissioner stands up and says that blatantly in front of you, it's just stunning. So not only do we know that they're redistricting because they're afraid of us, they're telling us this. And so, interestingly, when you look at the data, after all this, after kicking the anthill, after pissing off every Democrat in Texas over our Tarrant County redistrict, the most they could do was get our Tarrant County Commissioner Alyssa Simmons' district to an R+2, which is completely outvotable this year. They have completely undone themselves. They have bought themselves no favors. We will outvote them. And of course, now they're taking that same game plan to their congressional maps, which again is just
Governor
Abbott has stated that his goal is to unpack basically their packed Democratic districts. So they've gerrymandered us for years, of course. They've packed the Democrats, especially the Black and brown voters, into 4 districts as much as they can. And now they're going to try to unpack those districts, which all that's going to do is not only not lose us seats, but make every other Republican seat, the urban Republican seat, on the table for us. So
Right.
They're trying to cheat themselves to success, and it will be their total undoing.
It's actually an opportunity for us on a statewide level, because they're going to make, in order to do this, they're going to have to make some of the Republican districts, which in 2021, the goal was a 57% Cornyn district for these congressional districts that were Republican. In order to do what they're doing, they're going to make these some of these congressional districts more competitive.
Yeah,
like a Beth Van Dyne up in mid cities, and it's a real opportunity. And I think us as Democrats, not only in Tarrant County but around the state, need to be looking for those opportunities, because this is all Trump driven. As I understand it, there a lot of Republicans in Texas didn't want to do this. But if they have to do this, and it's a real opportunity for us that we can win some districts.
Absolutely. We're gonna pick. We were already going to pick things up in 2026 with the political atmosphere that we have going for us, and now they're putting so many more things on the table. In addition, as we all know, to the Republicans basically playing musical chairs to all of their seats. Tons of Republicans are vacating their seats, so they have no incumbent, and they're vacating seats which are already winnable. So it's they're just leaving tons of seats on the table for Democrats to pick up in 26.
Okay, so we're gonna We want Texas progressives to get to know Allison Campolo. And what better way than to do a lightning round of questions?
Ready.
So you want to kick it off, Kathleen?
Yeah. Allison, what's your favorite drink?
Oh, favorite drink. Diet Coke. Sorry.
I'm a Dr. Pepper drinker. How long have you been involved in Kung Fu or karate? I'm not sure what it is. And what belt do you hold?
Kung Fu. Yeah. Northern Shaolin Kung Fu, just like Jackie Chan. Let's see. I started Kung Fu in 2004. That's where I met my husband. And I was a yellow belt when he started, by the way. I was very important. Anyway, so now I'm a black belt. Got my black belt in 2014. And I used to compete a lot. My husband and I used to compete on the international circuit. So technically, I'm an international heavyweight champion in the ring.
Whoa.
Yeah.
Boy, they better, and Beau French better watch out when he messes with Allison Campolo. Is all I'm talking about.
I think that's our episode title. Allison, what's your most favorite fun activity that you do with your kids?
That's a great question. I think going to the park. There's so many good parks around here and the splash pads. I like to just get outdoors with them.
So you are you have a PhD, you're a scientist, and why don't you tell us what your dissertation was in and where did you get your PhD from?
Yeah, I got my PhD from Oklahoma State. So I was I had applied to both Oklahoma State and Texas A&M at the same time. They're equidistant from my house. And I got in first at Oklahoma State, so I stayed there. And my PhD is in diabetes. So it's biomedical science, veterinary biomedical science is technically like my degree. And my thesis is in diabetes and how it relates to the heart and the lungs and how it relates to infectious disease. So we saw this especially came out during COVID. Which hit right after my PhD, but we know now much better that infectious diseases like flu and pneumonia and COVID really affect your heart and your lungs much more significantly if you're diabetic.
There you go. All the more reason why we need Medicaid and why these Medicaid cuts of 13 million people will mean shorter lives for Democrats, Republicans, independents, non-political people.
Yep.
Allison, I worked alongside you in your Senate run in 2018. I was pregnant at the time. I remember you were one of the first people we told. And what did you learn on that state Senate run?
On my state. Okay, well, first I have to back up and say the little mobile you gave us are still in my baby's room because you gave it for our first baby and now we're on baby number 3 and he plays the and I'm like, don't break that.
I wanted to hear that. I didn't know. That's wonderful.
Yep. It's in there every day. We talk about it every day. Anyway, so what we learned on state Senate run. So state Senate run was really interesting for so many reasons. Number one was it was almost a countywide campaign because of the way the district was drawn at the time.
Right.
The only place it didn't include was some of the northwest of the county. And so I got to learn a lot more about Tarrant County and I got to meet a lot more people because of that expansive district. So that was number one. Number two was how important it is to unify after a primary. So this is something I really tried to do as chair and something that's really important to me, which is it doesn't matter who wins or loses a primary. At the end of the day, we need to get Democrats elected.
Right.
And so I was really happy to be able to build a really positive relationship with Beverly Powell, who was a wonderful state senator. I'm so pleased that I lost the election to her. She did a great job. And so that positive relationship building is something we should do in every primary. You know, I hope I can lead by example there.
And so you did run, and I think it's so important that a party chair have been a candidate before and run a race. What did you learn from your opponent? It was Beverly Powell who went on to win the Senate race, but what did you learn from her in that process of running in the Democratic primary in 2018?
That is a great question, and I'll say the biggest takeaway is to kind of over target. You don't know who's going to turn out. So I think my main mistake in that primary was to only target the people that turned out in 2014. And so I was targeting all these people and I talked to them. And then we saw like double the turnout because of the crazy year that we had in 2018. And Beverly and her team had done such a good job with over targeting and talking to even more people than we had. And so I learned from her and her team that you don't know who's going to come and you need to kind of overcompensate for those variables. And you need to reach out to more people than you think you do to be successful.
And Allison, we watch a lot of PBS in my house. What's your favorite show to watch or stream, whether it's with your kids or just you?
Oh, I'd say King of the Hill. That's been my favorite forever. And my little 4-year-old knows who Bobby Hill is.
Like a good Texan should. Okay. That's so funny.
What was the last concert you went to?
Okay. Well, I will admit that I'm super uncool and I haven't been to an actual concert in a long time. But I would say the last musical event at a public place I went to was probably a drag show in Arlington for one of their Pride celebrations. They put on really good drag shows, and those divas can sing. It is really fun. I do recommend it.
There you go.
And do you have a favorite Texas sports team? That's the last lightning round question.
A favorite sports team. Okay, so I'll admit this, and I'm just apologizing for everything flat out. I follow a lot of our local sports teams loosely, but I will say that like the sports team that I always know the score of because I always watch it is probably a fictional one, which is AFC Richmond from Ted Lasso. I love our local heroes. I just don't watch them every day. I'm so sorry.
So wholesome. So wholesome. Good answer.
Progress Texas podcasting director Chris Mosier here. Independent, public, fact-based media is under direct attack by the Trump administration and congressional Republicans. Why? Because we dare to speak truth to power. We don't fire our staff members for expressing their own views. We don't shy away from what's really happening out of fear. As we all know, information is power, and once the truth is silenced, we're all powerless. Progress Texas relies on funding from our listeners and viewers to keep shining a light on the truth in Texas. If you've come to rely on Progress Texas, please support us. We don't do subscriptions or paywalls because the media we produce is important for everyone to be able to see and hear, but it can't continue without you. Please become a regular, sustaining monthly supporter of Progress Texas right now at progresstexas.org/donate.
Allison, I want to talk to you about, we mentioned you're a young mom. Mm-hmm. How do we involve more young families in our work? You go to political events, Jason goes to political events, I go to political events, and the three of us might be the youngest person in the room, whether that's an issue of not wanting to take the kids or you can't get a sitter. How do we make more young families feel welcome at our organizing events, welcome in our outreach events, and they're finding a place for everybody? How do you do that as the new chair?
I think that's a really good question, and one we really need to seriously consider if we want to keep expanding our networks. I think the main key is to be flexible. So I kind of force a lot of people to meet me where I am. So right now that's on Zoom, right? Or like electronically. And as somebody with kids, sometimes that's all you can do is meet them virtually, right? You can't always come out to where they are. Of course, I have shown up at events with my kids, as have a lot of parents with young children or children of all ages. And I think it's really important that we hold space for that and not ostracize them or make them feel weird in any way, but sort of welcome that. It's a welcoming community. And if we want to take it one step further, this is something that we could take out of the Republican playbook, which is at big events, they frequently have volunteers signed up to watch people's kids so that families can participate more often. And I think that's something I'd be happy to steal from them as an idea, as a way to further increase our organizing capabilities and be more welcoming to all.
I take my kids when I go to meetings because I don't want to miss out on conversations in the car or, after. Becca can put a stamp on a postcard, Hale can write a postcard. I mean, Becca loves it. Are we going to the place with the windows with the stamps? I'm like, oh yeah, we can go stamp some postcards. Yes.
You're so cute.
And kids want to help, and they're so sweet. So finding a way to make people feel welcome, you have to, or you lose them and they'll sit out and say, that's not for me.
I totally agree. And a lot of people bring their kids block walking, which I have too. Not only because it's good exercise, good to get the kids out of the house, but a lot of people anecdotally will tell you it increases the amount of people that open the door. You're not scary. You're some mom, you have a kid, or your dad, I think taking your kids with you has a lot, and they get to see democracy in action. I mean, everybody wins, really. So taking your kids, organizing with you is, I think, a huge bonus.
I took the twins. We started a project where we would put out so many yard signs every cycle. And in 2018, we put a yard sign in the yard of a fella. And a couple years later, I married his daughter. So
What a world, Jason. And then had another baby. Like, what a world. That's wonderful. I didn't know that.
Yep. I will tell you, I think they're a little burned out on putting on yard signs.
Oh, well.
We got a good 4 cycles. So.
Yep.
And bring them to the block walking, like you're saying, Allison. My kids loved trick-or-treating long before like we were doing trick-or-treating because they were doing block walking. They loved to knock on the door or ring the bell. And then, somebody would come in and visit with them briefly and they'd just smile. And then later when we go trick-or-treating, the boys didn't care about the candy much until they were older. And she doesn't care about the candy at all, but it's just that interaction. So it can really be fun. And there are ways to involve the whole family. Allison, I want to go back to something that you were talking about earlier about public policy and about your degree and your specialization. Unfortunately, in Texas, we have been in a measles outbreak for far too long. And we have publicly elected officials like Tarrant County Rep. Nate Schatzline bragging online about how very few of his kiddos at the church charter school he's involved with, I think it's called Mercy Culture, how few are vaccinated. And I think it's one of the most, head banging on the wall experiences I had in Tarrant County before we left were moms online saying, well, I just disagree that about the rate of infection here in Tarrant County, and it's not widespread. I'm like, well, you have to reach this threshold for infectious disease specialists to say it's widespread. So widespread is not an opinion. There are parameters, and just the disconnect that we have with public policy leads to children dying. And can you talk to us about bringing public policy and good science back to the forefront at a time where we have RFK Jr. as our health secretary who spouts nonsense, every time he's on the microphone, and specifically with measles in Texas and Tarrant County?
This is not going to be easy to solve. We've obviously been inundated with vaccine skepticism for 20 years now, specifically around the scares that's going to introduce some kind of vaccine injury or introduce autism. All these things have been completely debunked, and I think this got buried because it was on a day with a very busy news cycle. But RFK dismissed the entire vaccine advisory board at the CDC last month.
Right.
And that to me was one of the most horrifying things. I mean, the new advisory board has been seated, and they're going to completely redraw the entire vaccine schedule for the United States. And that means even if you believe in vaccines and you want them at the regular schedule, your insurance carrier may not be able to cover it because the CDC no longer recommends it at that particular schedule. And I think that's really, really scary. So we are, I think right now, I hope I'm right. I hope we're living in the worst time right now, because that means it'll get better very soon and not worse. But I think we're living in easily the scariest time in terms of vaccine skepticism and science skepticism. I mean, obviously the Republicans only win because they invent boogeymen over and over and over. And when they run out of boogeymen, they get more. And one of the boogeymen they invented was science and facts. And if we can't agree on what's real, then we are really trapped in a very unnerving reality. So I think it's multifaceted. I have seen some parents who unfortunately it took their children getting sick for them to realize how important vaccines are. And I also think that a big part of this will be if we can actually fund public education, then people understand how and what vaccines are and how they work. I've seen so many parents online say, well, why don't we just give our kids a little bit of the virus and then they'll build antibodies? And you're like, that's literally what a vaccine is. Like they don't realize that's literally what a vaccine is. And so I think a lot of this also has to do with our total underfunding of public education. I mean, there's all these parents out there that are trying to unschool their kids, right? They're trying to make sure vehemently that they're not getting the education that they should be getting to exist in this world. So I think this will be a multifaceted effort and not an easy one to kind of re-educate and re-engineer how our society thinks about science and thinks about vaccines to keep our kids safe. And to your point, I mean, one of the scariest parts is that they don't understand how herd immunity works, and they don't understand that babies who are too little to get the vaccine are really, really vulnerable. Or even kids that have had the vaccine but are slightly immunocompromised or only had one shot instead of two. I mean, all of these kids are vulnerable. They don't realize that their decision is affecting other people. Other people bringing their unvaccinated children around children who might be compromised or vulnerable is a public health risk. And I think a lot of parents don't realize that. So again, more just we have to engage in a very serious public debate, public education commitment, I think.
I think it's so important that someone with your expertise is the Tarrant County Democratic Party chair in opposition to who is the Republican Party chair for Tarrant County. Jason, do you want to take it away on that issue?
Sure. So in Tarrant County, we have he's like a dark MAGA Ken doll named Beau French, who has posted this year about wanting to make Tarrant County inhospitable to Democrats, and suggested that there be snipers planted at the No Kings rallies to take out progressives. I personally have challenged him to a debate. Of course, he doesn't want a debate. I'm going to pass that baton on to you. But if we could talk a little bit about how to deal with dark MAGA personalities who really don't want to deal with facts. They want to deal with exaggeration and kind of fake toughness. And what do you think is a good approach to deal with that kind of dark MAGA approach?
I think it's maybe a two-part approach, right? So Beau French and people like Beau French are not serious people. So they're not here to do governing in good faith. They're not here to look out for their community. They're not here to make sure that the Tarrant County residents get the best access to the ballot box, regardless of either party. It doesn't matter that he's a Republican. He's not here in good faith, and he's not a serious person. And so I think one of the approaches is that we have to treat him like not a serious person. We can't give him the attention he wants as in the way he wants it. And what he wants is to be seen as extremist, right? He wants that attention from Democrats clutching their pearls and getting upset about the things he does. Obviously, he also wants the attention from all of his racist bots that always retweet him and follow him and stuff. But he wants to be outrageous, right? So we can't empower that, is my point. So, I always say, don't retweet this guy. If you're going to screenshot him, don't include his name. Give him as little power as possible in terms of that outrage, because that's what he's looking for. And then the other part of dealing with Beau French is just to hit him in the knees as far as political outcomes go. I mean, he just went 0 for 12 in May.
Right.
There's no way that Dan Patrick would have called him out for his anti-Semitic tweet if he hadn't gone 0 for 12 in May. So I think that the other part of this is just the more that we show them that they're losers, and they are losers, then him and his ilk will go to the wayside. So my takeaway is that you can't treat him as a serious person, because he's not, and he's going to lose in the midterms.
My call out to Beau French, if we can get him to listen, is Allison Campolo can out-read you, she can out-think you, she can out-philosophize you, and she can outlast you.
True story.
So come on, Beau French.
Yeah.
You've met your match in Allison Campolo.
Yeah. Did you guys see the way the Fort Worth Star Telegram lined us up the other day?
Good. And we shared that on Progress Texas, Allison.
Thank you. I appreciate it.
You're welcome. We're getting close to our time here, but what you just mentioned about the local races is really important. Talk to us, as our final question here, about keeping that momentum going. I mean, there were wins for Tarrant County listeners who know Tarrant County in HEB, in GCISD, which is my home school district, which has gone far off a cliff.
Yes.
And we're going to right that ship, and in Mansfield, and on and on and on in Keller. So talk to us about taking those wins and that momentum through 2025 and into 2026 and the outlook for 2026.
Yeah. So, I think right after the 2024 election, Democrats did not feel that rise to action as they did in 2016, right? 2016, 2017. We felt mostly like totally despondent. And then somewhere around March, I feel like that totally shifted. People realized there's organizing to do, even if that's at the most local level, even if it's in just my precinct or my community, there's still organizing to do, and I need to get out and do it. And the fact that all of the True Texas Project endorsed candidates lost is no accident, right? Like, yes, political atmosphere is changing because Trump keeps pissing everybody off every day, but also because these candidates that are running are top tier. I mean, they knocked thousands of doors, they sent out mail and made phone banks and talked to their communities and made them realize that these extremist candidates don't represent them and they should not be on local government. And I think the more that we can continue that narrative, the more we continue to organize, the better we'll be. So I see no problem with maintaining the momentum that we've built from the May municipal elections. For not just because our current extremist government at all levels, if you live in Tarrant County, you're represented by nothing but jerks, right? So like your county judge and your commissioner's court is horrible. Most of the, not all, but many of our local municipal governments are quite extreme. Obviously our state government is very extreme. And then of course we have our national government, which is red at every level. So you have nothing to do but try to organize to make it better. And so I think people are feeling that call to action. We're seeing tons of new precinct chair signups. We're seeing tons of new volunteers. All of the allied organizations we talk to are having the exact same results right now. Reality is that we're getting lots of new people engaged. But the other thing too is that we're going to keep having little elections. So of course, there's normally the November 2025 election would be very boring. It'd be constitutional amendments. Who cares? But, now we have this very contentious SD9 special election. We're going to have the CD18 special election in Houston. Because Republicans are vacating, or because Greg Abbott refused to seat anybody in Sylvester Turner's seat for most of the year, which is egregious, by the way. Then now they're going to keep reminding people all until the 2026 midterms that there is options on the table. We do have good candidates. We have people to fight for, and that will do nothing but increase our momentum into the midterms.
What they've done with the power they've had, with the little time they've had, they've shown that they're for billionaire tax cuts while cutting Medicare for 13 million people. They're for undermining public education for everybody while funding vouchers for elite schools that will be used primarily by the top 1%. And also the economy is shifting. It's slowing. And sadly, that's going to hurt a lot of people.
Yeah.
But these policies that MAGA has put into place, that Governor Abbott has put into place, and that Donald Trump has put into place are starting to have a negative impact on the economy.
I agree.
We are producing fewer and fewer jobs only 6 months into the Trump administration. And I think we have a real opportunity to reclaim being the party and the movement of those who are on the side of people ordinary families who are just trying to make it and trying to give themselves a better life and their kids an even better life.
I agree.
I hope we focus on direct communication about things people really care about. I think that's the kind of voter there is in Tarrant County, not an extreme voter, but really wants to know how our leaders are going to help them.
I totally agree. Yeah, exactly. To your point. So it's so often, because we're so horribly gerrymandered and because our voter participation is so low, all of our representatives are only elected by the most extreme minority. So a very small minority of Tarrant County by percentage is sending our legislators to Austin, which is so bad for our community and so bad for our society, because they're legislating on a platform that I think almost everyone in Tarrant County, regardless of political persuasion, does not agree with. And so exactly to your point, the more that we can message and communicate to your your voter who is really concerned about, kitchen table policies and things that affect them, when they're going to pay their bills, then that's who we need to be talking to and make sure they get out in November.
Allison, I've really enjoyed visiting with you today, and I know we're going to have you back. Please come to us when you've got special projects that you could use some more eyes and ears on. And I just wanted to say again, it really means a lot to me. It's my home county. I've been frustrated. I've been appalled.
Yeah.
The mayor of my hometown suggested that we send a nuclear bomb into a hurricane to make it go the other way. We have got to run people in every election. So I just am so pleased that you're back at the helm. And I know good things are coming for Tarrant County residents. And really, it's about improving lives and saving people's lives.
Definitely, absolutely is. And thank you so much for having me. I'm really glad to be back. I'm grateful the precinct chairs have voted in our special election, and grateful that people of Tarrant County, and we're going to have a really good cycle, I think. So, and with the help of Progress Texas to get there, I mean, but voices like yours are what get this message out. So I'm really grateful. Thank you.
Good luck, Allison, and keep fighting for democratic values and people.
Definitely. Thank you, guys.
Thank you both for joining us today. Tarrant County Democratic Party Chair Allison Campolo, Progress Texas board member, and civil rights attorney Jason Smith. Campaigns come and go, y'all, but our progressive movement is forever. An authoritarian extremist ruling party deserves a strong, united opposition. Please stay with us. Please share this podcast with a friend. And if you're able to do so, invest in progressive messaging. Even $10 helps, and we stretch every dollar. Your donations are always welcome at progresstexas.org. And if you're opinionated like me, drop us a review and a 5-star rating on the podcast platform of your choice. It's free and it's so helpful. Thanks again for the support. Bye, y'all.
The Progress Texas Happy Hour is a production of Progress Texas, a rapid response media organization promoting progressive messages and actions. Find us online at progresstexas.org and on Facebook, Twitter, Instagram, and YouTube. The podcast is produced by me, Chris Mosier, and our featured music is by Walker Lukens. Please be sure and subscribe to the Progress Texas Happy Hour on the podcast platform of your choice. Take a moment to leave us a review if you've enjoyed the show, and be sure and tell your friends about us. Thanks for listening and for all you do to press progress forward here in the Lone Star State. We'll see you again next week.